My name is Pam Nagurka, and we're going to get started on time. We're so glad all of you are here, our panelists, as well as our students. Please note that this is being recorded. Wanted to make sure everyone's aware of that. So, hi, everyone. My name is Pam Nagurka. I'm the Partnership Coordinator for Work-Based Learning in Arlington Public Schools, and I'm going to be your moderator this evening as we talk about the Earth, stewardship and responsibility for our industry panel discussion this evening. I would like to express my sincere appreciation for all of you taking the time out of your busy day to be with us this evening. It's important that we share, that we learn about diverse perspectives on the current and future workforce of agriculture, food, and natural resources. We encourage you to take advantage of this opportunity to learn from the panel. Hopefully, after leaving tonight, you'll feel more knowledgeable about the industry and better prepared for your post-secondary future students who are here with us this evening. During this session, you are encouraged to share your favorite moments and what you find interesting on social media using the hashtag instruction to industry. And that's hashtag instruction, the number 2, industry. And at the end of the webinar, a link will be sent to an exit survey to you. This survey will help you with the ability to share your feedback on the panel discussion and help us make sure that we have answered any questions you have or that we can make this better and more meaningful for you in the future. This panel discussion will run from 6 to 6:45, and we're going to start with introductions. I know that we have some of our panelists here and some of them are running a little late, but I'm going to introduce everyone. So our panelists include Michaela Robinette. She grew up on a Century farm in eastern North Carolina, where she continues to raise grass-fed beef cattle alongside her grandparents, her parents, and her brother. Her childhood was filled with 4-H and FFA events, dirt roads, and everything else that comes with farm life. In 2020, Michaela graduated from Brevard College with a bachelor's degree in environmental studies with a concentration in sustainable agriculture and pre-law. She graduated with distinction from Auburn University in 2022 with a Master's of Science in Rural Sociology. In 2023, she began her PhD in Public Policy and Administration at Walden University. Michaela now works as the Farm and Ranch Stress Assistance Network. At the end, she's a North Carolina resource specialist at the North Carolina Agro-Medicine Institute, which provides health, safety, and crisis prevention intervention and resources to agricultural workers and their family. Also joining us today is Dr. Jason Davis. He's an assistant dean at the School of Agriculture and Biological Sciences at the University of Mount Olive. Dr. Davis's research focuses on agriculture and education. Dr. Davis has served as the president of the National Council for Agriculture Education and twice as the president of the NASAE, National Association of Agricultural Educators. His research has focused on teacher job satisfaction, stress indicators, and experiential learning in middle school. Thomas Bolus is an agricultural agent with the Virginia Cooperative Extension. An agricultural educator, Mr. Bolus has a strong interest in food security, soil health through regeneration, and agriculture of environmental stewardship. Bob Forgione is with the Work for Water community, whose goal is to enhance the visibility and image of careers in water, drinking water, and wastewater. Before retiring 3 years ago, Mr. Forgione worked 22 years for an environmental engineering design company and then 25 years for a municipal water reclamation plant, primarily in operations and maintenance. As a registered professional engineer, he has a great deal of respect for operations staff and maintenance staff, as well as other reclamation plant professionals. So before we go any further, I'm actually going to ask for a little bit of clarification because you have such interesting job descriptions and some of our students may not know what those are. So I'm going to start with Mr. Bolus. Can you share with us what you mean by food security? Some of our students might not know what that is, as well as regenerative agriculture.
Sure. So I'm an extension agent, and my job is to take research-based information from Virginia Tech, Virginia State, and the other land grants and get them out to the general public. And in terms of food security, we look at two things. One, the amount of calories that people get so they're not going hungry. And then the other thing is nutritional food security, making sure people have access to nutritious food. In my job, a lot of that is putting people together, working with food banks, trying to connect people, trying to connect farmers who have extra produce that they're not going to sell with food banks, making sure that members of the community can get fed. Regenerative agriculture is what's old is new in a sense. It's smaller farms. They're doing things to improve soil health. They're looking at basically working in a more ecological, friendly way. They're trying to model nature where they can. They're incorporating agriculture. They're trying to reduce nutrients. They're trying to reduce pesticide use. And so a lot of that is on the ag side. I work in Prince William County, and like some of you, Arlington, Fairfax, there's not a whole lot of agriculture going on there. So I work with farmers in my county, but I spend a lot of time working with HOAs and churches and individual residents and taking those same sort of concepts and putting them into residential situations so that people can use less fertilizer, use less pesticides, and either grow food or grow landscapes in a much more sustainable and productive way.
So thank you. I just want to summarize before we move on to Mr. Forgione. And that is that food security is about making sure that people have access to food, particularly nutritional food. And when we talk about regenerative agriculture, really making sure that we're being thoughtful about ensuring that the soil health is appropriate so that we can grow the food that we need when we need it. Would that be accurate?
Yes.
Lovely.
That's part of what I do, but those two in particular, I know that most people don't understand. So yeah, that was perfect.
Perfect. And we'll learn more about you in the coming minutes. Mr. Forgione, please correct me if I pronounced your name wrong. Can you talk to us about, what it means to talk about water reclamation and drinking water versus wastewater?
Sure thing. First, you did a good job with my name, so thank you. And regarding what Mr. Bowles said, I encourage everyone who's listening to get involved in your local food pantry, food banks. It's important. And the cooperative extension is a nationwide program. I believe every state has a cooperative extension. So thank you for being part of that. Your question again, I'm sorry.
So I'm just, if you could explain to us what it means when you say water reclamation. So as we're answering questions, I want to make sure students understand what you do before we start asking our panelists questions. So what is water reclamation and how does it impact drinking and wastewater?
Okay. First, it used to be called sewage treatment. Sewage became a dirty word. I don't know why. I think it's fine. Then it became wastewater treatment because that sounds nicer. Now it's called water reclamation. When you talk about sewage disposal or wastewater disposal, you're treating it and throwing it away. Nowadays, we don't think of disposing of wastewater. It's a valuable resource. We need it. We need clean water. So water reclamation more accurately depicts in the mind of whoever is hearing it that we're reclaiming the water to use it again. You discharge into a river, your treated wastewater into a river. Downstream, another town is using that as their water supply. We're constantly reusing the water that's been here since the dawn of Earth. So treating our wastewater helps keep our environment clean, our rivers and streams, so that the fish and water life don't die. They could if we keep polluting. And it helps to keep our water supply clean. Did I answer your question?
Yes, that's wonderful. And I did not know that we have all these synonyms for the same thing. So now for our hopefully future water reclamation professionals, we'll know where to start.
Okay.
I'm going to ask questions for the panelists throughout the session. I will read a question. Each panelist who is with us this evening will have roughly 1 to 2 minutes to share a response. I know I just introduced both of you, but if you could share your name and your organization before you answer the first question so that our students really have a visual of your organization as you're answering. So let's start. My first question is, what was your journey, your career journey? Was it straightforward? Was it circuitous? And tell us about it. And I'll start with Mr. Forgione. I see that you look ready. So why don't we start there?
Okay, Bob Forgione. I'm in a number of professional committees. I'm a member of several professional organizations. And even though I retired 3 years ago, I'm still active. One of the organizations is the Water Environment Federation. That's the wastewater end of it. And another one is the American Water Works Association, the water end of it. They have a joint Work for Water committee. If you go www.workforwater.org, you'll find the national website. There are also Virginia websites and websites in most states. As far as my journey, in high school, I was interested in math and science, so I ended up going to an engineering college. They suggested at the college that I go for civil engineering, so I went for civil engineering. When I was graduating, I said, gee, I really don't know how to earn a living. Maybe if I go to grad school, I'll learn how to earn a living. And my department head suggested environmental. Now, this was, you have to keep in mind, 1972. As you can tell from the color of my hair, I'm not a young guy anymore. So he suggested environmental because it was up and coming. So I went to grad school for environmental. And of course, I felt the same way. I can't earn a living. But I met a fellow in grad school. He was auditing, of course. He was already working. And he suggested I go to work for his firm. So that's how I got started in a career in environmental engineering and working for a design consulting firm. I like designing, but I got very little design. I was writing mostly reports. So I left that company, went to a second design firm. And after 22 years as a consultant and seeing that people were laid off periodically, I said, I think I'd like to work at a sewage treatment plant, water reclamation plant, municipal plant in engineering and construction. And I got a job down here in Virginia in Centerville at the Upper Occoquan. It was called Sewage Authority, but now they call it Upper Occoquan Service Authority. Sewage is not a dirty word to me. So it was a fairly straight route. And when I started here at UOSA, I was the manager of an engineering construction section, and then I was promoted to director of the operations and maintenance division. Got to work with a lot of blue-collar workers, wonderful people. I have a great deal of respect for them, as well as the professionals, many professionals who are needed at a plant such as mine: finance people, human resources folks, laboratory, IT, engineering, treatment process operators, and of course, mechanics, etc.
Thank you. So it sounds like you started with the private sector and then moved into the public sector.
Yes.
Mr. Bolus, I'm going to ask you to tell us about your journey. Was it straightforward or circuitous? And then we'll move on to Dr. Davis.
It was anything but straightforward. I went to school for international relations and then realized that not going to Georgetown or GW or American, it's hard to get in the State Department. So I switched to history. And while I was a history major, I worked for the U.S. Geological Survey in their Water Resources Division and decided that, I kind of really like science. And I like the idea of teaching science. And so I ended up at Virginia Tech and got a degree in agriculture and agricultural education. I taught high school for a while in agriculture, went overseas for a while in developments, and then I ended up with cooperative extension. And one thing I will say is that each of these careers, whether it's Bob's, Jason's, they all kind of tie in together. I mean, one of the things I work on is stormwater management that goes into freshwater. Dr. Davis works in ag education. That's what I do, but with adults and not with students. Our other guest who hasn't joined us, who deals with farmer stress. Some of my colleagues are involved in that because that's a growing issue across the country. So there are lots of different ways that these connect.
Yes, so water is quite important, as is agriculture, right? Two things that keep us alive. Dr. Davis, can you share with us what you do and your journey to get there?
I did not have a straightforward journey. I'll be honest with you. My title is the Assistant Dean of the School of Agricultural and Biological Sciences, so I get to do a lot of many things every day. I call myself the problem solver. So I deal mostly with academic programs, with transfer students, with our academies, with assessments for those in higher education. That's a big part of what we do. But after high school, I started, I really had some doubts about what I wanted to do. So I started my journey at a community college. So my first degree is an associate's in general education. I started off in horticulture at Sampson Community College in southeastern North Carolina. And I transferred from Sampson Community College to North Carolina State University and majored in ag education with a minor in horticulture. I've kind of had an affinity for plants and enjoy working with plants, especially the horticultural realm. There's just lots of really neat things there. And went back to teach at my home high school. And I thought I was going to be one of those teachers that would die at their desk. So just you work and you would farm and have a family and a career, but fate had other things in mind. So I worked on my master's degree at nighttime. That was just at the cusp of online classes. So probably one of the last 2 or 3 classes I had for my master's degree were online. So I finished my master's degree and fate called once again. And for 15 years, I became the state director for the FFA based out of NC State. So I went back to my alma mater and worked there. And while I was the state executive secretary, somehow or another, I decided to pursue or somehow accomplish pursuing a doctorate degree in agricultural education and have a minor in leadership. So all the aspects of leadership, public speaking, speaking to groups, working with groups, group dynamics, generational differences. And around 2000, higher ed made an offer, and I switched from being the state FFA leader to working in higher ed at the University of Mount Olive, which is a small private Christian school in Eastern North Carolina with a vibrant, growing agricultural program. So if you'd asked me in high school what I was going to do, it would be nothing that I have just listed. There's been lots of changes and things that I didn't expect. So I've been very blessed to have the journey that I have and to work with a lot of really neat students and teachers.
Thank you. So I'm going to start with Mr. Bullis next. My question is this, thinking about agriculture and food and natural resources and everything that goes with that career field, what do you see as kind of the most exciting part? And what do you see as one of the most difficult parts of being in that career field?
The difficult part is probably, first of all, people associating agriculture, farmers with being stupid, associating all agriculture as growing corn and raising cattle. And then there's some local governments that are not very agricultural friendly. The positives are there's a lot of exciting stuff going on in ag. You know, I have a coworker who works in 4-H, but her son used to not really know what he wanted to do and ended up getting into drones. And now he works for a company that does drones over ag fields, and they analyze the fields to see where areas aren't growing well, and looking at precision agriculture. And what that means, for those of you who don't know, is that you've got a tractor hooked up to GPS, and the GPS is going to A, give you straight lines, and B, depending on what data you have, it will tell you how much fertilizer to apply to each specific row. And so if you've got a drone telling you, well, this part of the field needs extra fertilizer, then as you go over it with the tractor, it's going to release more fertilizer and help you get a better crop. There's a lot of interesting things going on in food science. I never knew food science was a career until I almost finished graduate school. The people in food science, they work in the brewery, distillery, winery side of things. They work in developing different food additives to make foods last longer, developing different types of new foods. I have a friend who used to work for M&M Mars, and they got to play around with, let's see what combinations we can make to make a new chocolate bar that might be fun, that might sell well. So there's a lot going on in food science. Regenerative agriculture is it's exciting because it's a step away from what we would traditionally consider a big factory farm. There are only 4 or 5 companies that own most of the production in agriculture across the world. Small farms have a much better opportunity to make an impact environmentally. And a lot of that is local food, and so it's less environmental impact in terms of storage. There's a greater connection between what you're producing and the people that you're producing it for. Let's see what else. There are all sorts of things. Ag journalism is something that's exciting, depending on what you want to do. I mean, I have friends when I was in grad student who were undergrads that really wanted to work with horses. Well, there aren't that many jobs where you get to work with horses. Not everybody can train horses, not everybody can ride horses, but a couple of them got jobs working for different horse associations. And so they spent their time hanging out with horses, and then they write articles about it or broadcast journalism and speak to horses.
So it sounds like that there are lots of opportunities in agriculture, some technology, some the traditional farming, as well as things that you might not think about, think about the journalism field. Thank you for that.
Sure.
Dr. Davis, can you share with us what you see as the most exciting aspect of ag and ag ed, and then what the most difficult challenges that you see coming along?
I guess the most exciting part is just so many opportunities. Within ag education, there are so many opportunities. I tell people in North Carolina that if you want to be an ag teacher from the mountains to the coast, if you want to live in the high country of the mountains or live in the low country and be a beach bum, there's all kinds of jobs and opportunities if you want to be a middle school teacher or a high school teacher, and even opportunities in adult ed. There's numerous opportunities. The challenge I see is that with so many opportunities in agriculture in general, we only produce about half of the 4-year college graduates that are needed annually. There's so many opportunities for students. My ick, if you will, is trying to get students, when students don't take advantage of those opportunities. There's just there's so much that's available between competitions and conferences and conventions and opportunities for innovative grants that when people don't take advantage of those, it's kind of, I guess, kind of disheartening for me, because my goal is to connect students with those opportunities.
Thank you. Mr. Forgione, I'm going to ask you the same question, but I'm going to add a little to it, if you don't mind. So I want to know about your, favorite part about working in the field, the hardest part about working in the field. And I do also want to share with you, you do work in water, and where most of our jurisdictions are in Northern Virginia, right? And we're starting to see this surge in hydroponics, those kinds of things, and how you see those aspects of ag in the urban areas starting to contribute to the larger agricultural scene.
Okay, first I want to mention, Mr. Bowles said that some folks felt that, farmers are dumb. Some years back when I was in consulting, I was doing septic tank research. And I joined the Soil Science Society of America, the American Society of Agricultural Engineers, and the American Society of Agronomy. And I have to tell you, here I am, engineering degrees, bachelor and masters, and I was amazed at what these folks were doing. So there's a lot of science behind agriculture and a lot of, I believe, joys. You mentioned hydroponics. I'm not involved with hydroponics, but I remember Disney World had a little ride through a hydroponics area, and I think that is the future of agriculture, as between climate change and population growth, we need more food, less land to grow it on. I think hydroponics, and I'm not in the field, but I think that it's the way of the future, maybe not 10 years from now, but for our children and grandchildren. As far as my favorite part of the work and the hardest part, my favorite part is the people I worked with. Most everyone was committed to what they were doing, and that is great. And I also felt I was contributing to society because everyone drinks water, everyone produces wastewater. It's needed. You need it for agriculture. You need it for fighting fires. A hospital wouldn't be a clean hospital without clean water. You use it every day to eat and drink. So it's the satisfaction of knowing that I'm contributing to that, and I'm contributing to keeping the environment clean, especially as population grows in our area. The worst part, and I don't know how others might feel about this, but there are all different kinds of people. And though I've loved most everyone I've met, every once in a while you come upon someone who's out for themselves, don't care if they're not nice to other people, they don't respect other people. And that's just terrible having to work with them. And my advice to students is, if you come across that, don't do as I did. I didn't want to create controversy. Speak out respectfully, but defend yourself, defend why you're doing what you're doing, because most people are good, and you should enjoy that part of the work.
Thank you. Dr. Davis, would you like to share with us what you see coming down the pike in the career field?
One of the bigger things I see at the university is the marriage of agriculture with tech, with precision agriculture, with the drones, and the equipment. Now, when you buy a piece of farm equipment, the tractor and the implement don't necessarily talk to each other until a technician works on that. I see an increased need for students with soft skills that are able to communicate, that are able to work and to share goals. I see that as probably one of the things. A lot of times the employers can share with you some of the technical knowledge, but one of the things they can't share are drive and ambition, showing up to work on time, and character. Those are the things that I think are really going to set graduates apart in the future. I don't know anyone that really has all of the labor that they need right now. Everyone is in a talent shortfall. They're looking young people to pursue all the areas of agriculture with a passion. So I think that all those kind of mixed together is the magic formula, if you will.
So you speak to the idea that everybody is in need of high quality workers, people who are willing to do the work ethically with professionalism and the ability to communicate and collaborate with others. What do you see as the growth in agriculture, specifically? Do you see that there are going to be big changes that are requiring more people related to tech and technology, or do you think that it's going to continue to be a pretty even distribution that you're seeing now between those that are doing the boots on the ground and those that are doing tech? How do you see that need of new employees? Do you think that that's going to continue to have a trajectory of going straight up, or do we think that that's going to level off at some point?
Well, the good news is that Gen Z and later generations are more tech savvy than those of us that have been around are a little bit more seasoned. That you adapt to technology really well. I would say that, the technology can only, we can look at what artificial intelligence has done probably within the last year or two. If you log on to any type of social media, I guarantee there's probably some ads for some product or something that you've perused through the internet, and being able to capture that and to use that through intelligent thinking. I would think that the use of technology, be it tech savvy, with the ability to have creative thinking, to think ahead, to solve problems, are really what's going to set future graduates apart. Being able to kind of bridge the gap between the two, because the technology is not going anywhere. But to be leaders in the world, and to be transformative leaders, I think that we're going to have to be able to look at situations with new ideas and kind of have some fresh opinions.
Thank you.
Welcome.
I know that we are running out of time. I do want to say to this question that there are work-based learning coordinators on this call. If you are in Arlington, you can reach out to myself. Otherwise, please go to your school website or talk to your career and technical education teachers, and they can direct you in that. All of us have veterinary science and small animal care and some of those others. So please reach out to those teachers, even if you're not enrolled in those courses, and they can connect you to someone who can help you find those. And again, all of you are, or most of you are quite tech savvy. So really just surfing the net and looking for things through Indeed, and also looking at our utilities when it comes to water. I know there's a great need out there. And with that, I'm going to thank all of you for our time. I want to thank each of you for sharing with us your great knowledge in the agriculture sector. It is an important aspect for which we are all grateful. And I want to thank you for your time. I'm going to share my screen so that you can see those people who were so kind to spend their evening with us. And students, if you are interested, on February 17th at the Dulles Expo, we will have in-person opportunities for you to speak with some of our panelists, as well as additional industries within the Northern Virginia region. So please consider attending that. I do want to again thank our panelists for joining us this evening. It does conclude our Zoom session. We are going to stop the recording now. And with that, I'm going to say, please reach out to anyone who's on the panel or your career and technical education teachers, as well as the work-based learning department in your school system for more opportunities on how to get involved in agriculture, food, and natural resources. Have a good evening.